So do you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. So this is what we want to navigate through today. Want to look at basically space as a visual element of graphic design. We shall understand the definition of space. That one I believe you already know. And then the different types of space. And then we shall look at how different effects reflect or how they change the outlook of shapes and certain dynamics because those effects are applied on different shapes. Yeah, so still we shall not get tired of these, reminding ourselves these visual elements that create design. Of course, they're the ones we are trying to look at. We began our way from line, we went to color, texture, and now we are on space, right? Yeah, so when we learn today, when we learn space, we shall definitely be remaining with it too. Shall be remaining with form and typography. And I hope to combine form and typography tomorrow. So we have to be ready to learn form and typography, both of them tomorrow. So that means we are completing the design element, these visual elements, we are completing to look at them tomorrow. Then we shall start something else. Okay. Hello. Hello.
Yes.
So we are looking at space as a key element. Our key element number 5. Want to see how does space contribute to the graphical appearance of any design artwork. But of course, before that, we need to be knowing the simple definition of space.
Yes.
So we are saying space is the boundless, three-dimensional extent in which objects and events have relative position and direction. So most of the time when we are doing what we call design, of course, the designing has to take place on a certain space. There you must have an area. You must have a surface where you are going to lay down all your design elements. Those elements like the lines, the shapes, the color. Okay.
Yes.
All those elements need space where you're going to put them. And that's why we are saying in this regards, space is also one of the key elements in what? In graphic design. And it is a visual element. Because most of the time when you're designing, you can see, your eyes can look at the space which is occupied by the different design elements. And then your eyes should also be in a position to look at the free space. That bounding free space where all your elements have been put in. For example, when you look at the screen, okay, you realize that there is a wide space. We have a space. We have a space which is acting as the background. Okay.
Yeah.
Now that space has color blue, not so. But on that space, we have an element, a design element called the typography. So we are having text, and that text is occupying a certain area of your space. So if that space was not there, If that space was not there, then we would have nowhere where we would put that information that you are seeing there. So it begins by you having proper planning of the space. How big is the space? How big is the area where the different elements you are going to present on your design? How big is it? Of course, the space you decide to use should be accommodative. It should be enough to accommodate the different elements that you are going to put on your design. Are we together? Are we together? Hello. Are we together?
Hello.
Do you hear me very well? Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Do you hear me now very well?
Hello. Yes.
Okay, so we continue. So have you tried to pick something as far as space is concerned? Are you trying to understand why space qualifies to be a visual element?
Yes.
Okay, so that's why we are saying that space is that boundless. Space is that area without a boundary. Space is that area without a boundary. Though it is a three-dimensional extent in which objects and elements, which objects are we talking about? Remember, when you are going to design, you are going to put in these different objects, okay? You have to arrange them onto the space that you have, such that you can get information that is sensible, that is communicating someone who is looking at it. So space as space is the primary, it is a very important, or it is the fundamental element that you need to have, because everything you are designing, you are going to put it onto the space that you are having. Okay?
Yes.
So I try to share with you some of the designs that I made. But you realize that each of those designs that I made you to have a look at, for me to come up with them, I began by having space.
Yes.
I began by having what we call space. So let me just share this screen again. So you see the artwork. Are you seeing my screen? Hello.
Yes.
You are seeing my screen? Hello?
Bible stories, 2 p.m.
Yeah. So when you look at this artwork, okay? When you look at the artwork, it all began by me having space. Do you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
I was saying, when you look at this artwork that I designed for this guy, it began by me having space, one entire space. The area where the different elements are located. So when you look at the artwork, I have an area where I've placed the logo. I have an area where I've placed this shape, okay? I have an area where I place the picture. I I have an area where I placed this other logo. I mean, this other shape with the text. I have another area that I placed another shape. So you realize that I had to have what we call space, such that I am in a position to arrange these different elements, because these different objects that you are seeing here, this shape and the text, okay, this logo, this picture, this other shape down here and this other shape down, they are the objects. They are the different objects which are forming the artwork.
Yes.
So because I had one bigger space, I had an entire space, okay?
Yes.
I was actually able to plan very well, and I said, since I have many objects, let the first object, which is the logo, let it appear on top, because this is the name of the organization. This is the organization's identity. I should place it in this upper space. Okay. Then I said,
yes,
let the picture just be next to the information which is being talked about in this artwork. And then lastly, after someone looking at the picture and reading the information, someone should be in position to know on which date and on which day of the week and what period of the time does the event take place. Are we together? Hello? Hello?
yes.
Yeah, I think I lost you somehow and I continued talking. Where did I lose you from? From which area did you get off?
I don't know.
Of course.
You were telling me about the this graphic design work.
Yeah, I was telling you that
The shape.
when you look at the different objects which are forming this artwork, these objects were allocated in different regions of the one bigger artwork. I mean,
in the space you created.
Space. Yes. Are we
yes.
So you realize that for me to come up with this artwork, and even you tomorrow or any other day when you start designing, okay, you will need to have space and you will need to balance that space. You will need to utilize that space very well in order for you to come up with meaningful artwork which is balanced and which is attractive.
Yes.
So you can have a look at the way I try to balance. I try to allocate these different elements, these different objects on my one entire space. And by the end of me arranging them and allocating them different amount of space, I was able to come up with one piece of artwork that you are seeing. Yeah, so let's go back to, I don't know whether you are trying to pick something about space.
Yes.
Okay. So that's what we are trying to say here, that space is a boundless three-dimensional extent in which objects and events have relative position. Just like the way you saw the other different objects which I put on the other artwork, they have different relative positions where they are put and the direction. Okay? Hello? 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 Hello.
Yes.
Sorry, I think my internet has issues. I'm seeing it keeps on switching. The router keeps on getting on and off, on and off. I wonder what's the.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, but it's fine. We can continue. Yeah, so yeah, basically that is something little about space. And we are saying space creates the visual essence and dynamic of a composition. Once you have space, that space contributes to the creation of the visual outlook of your work. Okay?
Yes. The dynamic. Help me understand more about the dynamic.
Dynamic of your composition. Here I'm trying to say, as with the space, it helps to define how it defines the nature of your composition. It helps you to define how different visual elements that you have decided to use will appear on the side of someone looking at it. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to mean by dynamic of the composition. Yes, so space contributes towards defining the outlook and the appearance of your composition. Yeah. So we said space also.
Types of space.
Yeah, there are two. We have positive space, and then we have negative space.
Space.
Yeah. And then under positive space, we are saying positive space is perceived as a two-dimensional or three-dimensional. And that refers to the shapes of objects. So most of the time, positive space appears either two-dimensional or three-dimensional. Remember, we said a two-dimensional object is measured. You measure the length, you measure the height and the width, not so.
The width, yes.
Yeah. So just like what you are looking at here. So basically, if you have a shape, for example, that shape is formed by a certain space. So when you look at this object that you are seeing here, this is a shape. Okay? But inside this shape, we have what we call space. I believe the black area that you are seeing is the space it is the space that is helping you to come up with this shape.
It's the
positive space.
Yes.
Yeah. So the positive space is usually inside. It is usually within the object. Meanwhile, let me just go to the design software. Let me go to the design software. Let me share the screen of the design software, like Adobe Illustrator. So let me create a page. I'm creating a page. I hope you are seeing all what I'm doing on this.
Yes.
So this is a page. This is a page, but this page acts as space. When you are designing, it acts as space. But then when we talk about positive space, we are saying it is the space which is inside a shape.
Yes.
Because we are saying a positive space is either two-dimensional or three-dimensional. So if I draw a shape, so you see where I'm coming to draw a shape, I can select any of these shapes, maybe a rectangle, then I draw like this. So if I put a color inside it, like color red, So inside this rectangle, I have space. And that space is what we call, a positive space. It is what we call positive space. Okay?
Yes.
So that is what we call positive space. Let me just adjust this. So the positive space is that one in the middle. The space which is inside the shape. That is what we call positive space. We are trying to
Positive
understand.
space.
Yeah. And then when we talk about, because there is another type of space, there is another type of space, and that is negative space, not so. There is another type of space, and that is negative space. We shall look at negative space. However, there is just a supplementary statement here that positive space usually refers to anything that is considered as the main focus of the page. So assuming we are looking at this page, okay, which has a space which is wide, okay. Now, when we talk about positive space, we are talking about something which is referred to as the main focus. So if you are looking at this white space, which object would be your main focus right now? Which object would you consider as your main focus? The red space, not so. Hello? Hello?
Yes.
You said the red space, right?
The red shape.
Yeah, the red shape, which of course is made up of the red space, not so.
Positive space.
Yeah, and the red space
is
what we call the positive space. Are we together?
Yes.
Yeah, so let's go and look at let's look at negative space. And can you help me read this information about negative space?
Negative space, it is the white space or empty part of the design which isn't there. It can also be background color of the design. Very
good. So let's go back to the design software. So we are told that the empty space is the white, it's the white space or the empty part of the design. And we are told that which is not there. So it is just there, it is acting as the background. So it acts as the background. So when you look at this particular space, this particular page that we are looking at, which is white, and it has the red shape, not so. I believe you must be identifying the negative space already. This is the positive space. The one which is not part of this figure is what we call the negative space.
Negative space.
So which one is the negative space from here?
The white background.
Exactly, the white background. So this is the negative space. Okay. So this one is the negative space. Even this one is the negative space. Even here it is the negative space. Up here it is also A negative space.
Negative space.
Yes. So all that area, that surface which is white, we call it negative space. We call it negative space simply because it is not part of the main focus. It is not part of the main focus. When somebody is looking at this entire piece of page, somebody's main focus is always here at that red shape that we are seeing there. So since somebody is mainly focusing on the red shape becomes a positive space.
The positive space.
Yeah, and then the other area that somebody is not focusing on to, that area called the negative space.
The negative space.
Are we together?
Yes.
So you try to understand.
Yes.
Yeah, so that is about negative space. And when you look at this particular diagram, okay, I want you to tell me which one is the negative space and which one is the positive space on this diagram.
The negative space. The negative space is the white one. No.
It is which one?
It's the black one.
You know, if you want to always recognize which one is the negative space and which one is the positive space, first begin by looking at the what? The entire piece of
object.
Yeah, look at the entire thing. So when you look at the
black one,
which one takes your main focus when you just look at it? When you look at the entire thing that you are seeing here, there must be something that becomes your main focus.
Yes.
The moment you are able to identify
the negative space is the black one.
Very good. The moment you are able to identify your main focus, then you just know your main focus is positive. Any other one which is not your main focus is negative.
Negative.
Yeah, so in this case, white becomes your main focus. And then the one which is not your main focus is black. So black acts as the background. Not so.
Yes.
So, and therefore that black is what we call the negative space. Yeah. Can we read this?
Negative because it helps frame and contain a composition.
One more time.
Negative space is important because it helps frame and contain a composition.
Do you understand?
It also connects or disconnects shapes to suggest relationships.
Do you understand what this first statement is talking about?
Hello?
I'm saying, you understand what we are meaning with this information?
And frame. Yes. From the image.
Yes.
Showing the negative space, the one, it framed the object, the black shade. It framed the the white shape.
Mm.
I think, yeah, and it contained a composition.
Of course, containing a composition means it is capable to hold the composition of those different elements. Because trust me, when you arrange different elements on your design, it becomes a composition. I know you understand what we call a composition. You did art, not so. Because when you are composing something, you have to incorporate different items. Imaginative composition. You have to imagine very many items, then you bring them together. Now, because you have managed to assemble all those different items together, it means you have come up with what we call a composition. Okay?
Composition, yes.
Yeah. So that is one of the importance of having negative space. It helps to contain your composition, like the way you see here. The negative space is the one containing this. This is now an element of a composition. This shape here is an element of a composition. So what is capable of holding it? It is the negative space that we are having. And then on top of that, it gives like a frame. It gives something like a frame for your object that we are having here. Okay. And then we are saying it also connects or disconnects shapes to suggest the relationships. Of course, when you have negative space, it is capable of connecting one shape to another or disconnecting one shape from another. Yeah. So as it is capable of connecting and disconnecting, it automatically suggests how those different shapes are related. Yeah. In regards to that particular artwork. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we want to look at, of course, most of the time, to come up with space, we shall be drawing shapes. Okay. And now, when we draw shapes, we should be in a position to apply some effects. We should be in a position to apply certain effects. And those effects, when we apply effects, those effects should change the dynamics of the shapes that we have created. Are we together? Are we together?
Effects applied to shapes to create the dynamic. What's the dynamics? It's the same as movement.
It means
Mr. George.
Yes, I can hear you.
Mr. George.
Yes, I can hear you.
It's movements.
Hello.
Dynamic.
Hello.
Hello.
Do you hear me? Hello.
Hello.
Do you hear me?
Yes, I was saying.
Yes.
Yes. I was saying that dynamics, is it the same as movements?
Dynamics may reflect maybe the posture or the appearance, because we are going to apply effects onto shapes, okay? And the reason why we are applying those effects is to change the outlook, to bring something out, to bring some unique appearance of something. Yeah. So some of the effects we are going to apply include proximity, overlap effect, opacity effect, light and shadow effect, and then the perspective effect. Okay? So here we are saying,
yes,
when we apply the proximity effect,
Proximity.
yes, proximity is simply distance. Shapes are from one another.
Is it
It is simply distance
shapes?
are from one another. So this proximity may be, you may have shapes arranged when they are far apart or close together. So when the shapes are far apart, you can see how they look disorganized. But then when you bring them together and then you make sure that there is enough space between them, then you can come up with something meaningful. You can come up with something reasonable. Unlike here where shapes just look disorganized. These ones, they look scattered and really you cannot understand something sensible from this. So as a graphic designer, you should be in a position to apply what we call the proximity principle, which guides you to be able to bring shapes together in order for you to communicate something. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Proximity.
So proximity suggests relationships between
Relationships. Shapes.
shapes. Okay?
Yes.
And then when we talk about overlap, can you read this?
Overlap is the effect where shapes are arranged to appear to be on top of another.
So it is that effect where you just decide to arrange shapes, make them appear as if they are on top of another. For example, when you look at the two diagrams, these are scattered shapes. Okay? And then when you apply the overlap effect, you are going to bring these shapes.
Scattered objects.
You are going to bring the shapes together, and you will find that one shape is overlapping the other. One shape is overlapping the other. And at the end of it all, it will appear as if one shape is on top of another. Are we together?
Yes.
So in case you are designing something and you want to reflect as if you want to bring out an idea of overlap, you just need to overlap, just need to put one shape to overlap the other, another shape to overlap the other. By the end of you arranging those shapes, trust me, someone looking at the shapes that you have arranged on your piece of artwork will assume that some shapes are on top of the others. And yet for you, the designer, you just apply there the overlap effect. Okay? So the overlap illusion makes the top object to appear be closer to the observer. So when someone is looking at these objects here, always the top object appears to be closer. Like you see this object, this one, and these ones which are on top, they usually appear closer to the eyes of the person who is looking at the what? Who is looking at the artwork. Let me take you back to the other artwork that I was sharing with you. So here I have the overlap effect in play. Can you identify the overlap effect from here?
Yes, the blue shapes. The blue shape.
It is overlapping. It is overlapping the.
Yeah, the image and the pink.
So you realize that this blue shape, it brings this information to be closer to the eyes of the person looking at this work. So are you seeing sometimes where such effects are necessary? Yeah, so you apply such effects to pull, you pull certain object or certain information that you want the person looking at the artwork, such that the person's attention will be pushed, will be attracted there first. Because now when you look at this artwork, essentially, you'll look at it as if it is this shape here and this information which are on top of everything. Just because I applied the overlap effect.
Overlap effect.
Yes. So practically, that is one way how you can apply overlap effect. Yeah. So the overlap effect makes the top object to appear to be closer to the observer. You have just seen that from that artwork that I showed you, not so?
Yes.
Okay. Then we have the opacity. Opacity is the effect where objects appear transparent. So you see these different objects. These objects, are we together? Hello?